One of the coolest things about touring is that we have a mixture of like freelance people and also people from corporate and people from here and there. And yeah, most of the time it's like really unpredictable. But we could definitely start off with Candace. I understand you were previously on Live Nation, which is a pretty big company that involves with like touring and whatnot. I was wondering if you could talk about your transition from going to corporate into like starting your own company.
Yeah, well, I would say that everything that a lot of the tools that I utilize now as an entrepreneur and as a businesswoman, I've honed in and learned a lot of skills from just growing up in the corporate space. The administrative tools and resources that I utilize and I tap into as a professional, the networking and communication skills have been very valuable in learning how to best communicate with people, how to correspond with people on many different levels, from someone in the box office to an executive in a C-suite. I've been able to correspond with people on all levels, having the ability to network with proper people that have benefited me as an entrepreneur because I have solid relationships with them, and those relationships have led to partnerships and other engagements and opportunities. Just having the opportunity to work with a wide variety of artists. I work with artists on many different levels. I worked with Toni Braxton, I worked with Paramore, I worked with 311, and just I can go on. The Santana, Rihanna, David Blaine, just every single artist on it, and many different levels, you know. So I had a well-versed variety of roster of artists that I've worked with. And so every tour is different. So I've had an opportunity to work on different types of tours and pull together many different types of logistics. And sometimes tours were canceled. Sometimes we added more dates. Sometimes we changed things. So all of those different skills I'm able to take with me in entrepreneurship. And there are several sets of challenges that come, individual sets of challenges that come with in business and entrepreneurship. But ultimately, I feel like I've been prepared for them working in corporate America because I've had all of these different skills that I've been able to hone in on. And not only that, I've been able to really show myself as an entrepreneur, and people are buying into the value that I have, you know, and are respecting the talents and the craft that I've developed as an executive in corporate America, and then transitioning into an entrepreneur. So the scary part about it is obviously not really having the ongoing stability that working in a corporation gives you. But the exciting, thrilling part about it is doing things on your terms, naming your price, naming your value, understanding your value. I would say that business has, within 2 years of me having my company, it has gone built beyond my wildest dreams. I have partnerships with the Recording Academy and the Grammy Museum, with Logitech, again with Triller, and just a new partnership with iHeartMedia. So just as long as you're doing the work, as long as you're doing it with integrity, I believe that whether you work in corporate America or you work on your own, that you can go far.
No, love that. And I feel like a lot of what you are putting into your entrepreneurship is just so many soft skills and so many wonderful attributes, of course. But yeah, let's jump over to Chris real quick. Yeah, just talk about your experience with freelancing and just dealing with multiple different bands at a certain time.
You know, I've wanted to not be freelance before. And so for a while, I was an agent at a place called Big Shot Touring Artists under a guy named Kevin French, who's now at CAA, who books like Tim and Paula and The National and The Decemberists and a lot of great artists. And he's one of my mentors. What I discovered is that though I liked the stability of getting that, you know, paycheck every 2 weeks and having some bennies, it wasn't conducive to the enjoyment that I found through my career. So I'm definitely not built to go be a 9-to-5 type of human. I'm built definitely to be a 8 a.m. to 3 a.m. human, you know, a couple days a week on tour, and then very relaxed the rest of the time. It's, you have to find the right balance, because ultimately, you know, all of these relationships that you have with artists and managers and stuff like that, they all kind of have a shelf life. You know, you can work with a manager and go on tour with an artist, and then they're like, you're great, we're going to put you on tour with another artist that we do, but like for whatever reason your personalities just don't get along or whatever, and you just like, one of you decides to part ways or whatever, and that's totally fair. But it's taken a long time to get to a place where I'm juggling multiple clients that like tour just the right amount, to where not everyone in the crews for those bands is kind of beating their head against the walls because they've been on the road for 390 days a year. I know there's only 365 days a year. I was exaggerating. Because that happens. So there's just a delicate balance, and it's really tough to find, to be honest. I think it goes back to networking. Like Nikki and Candace and Alex were saying, like, it's just important, because when that artist goes off tour cycle or that relationship fizzles out or whatever, you can leave a tour for a litany of reasons, or a tour could just end. It's important to have all that stuff in your back pocket to go do the next thing. So part of the challenge is to continually be doing outreach and networking while you're on the road doing the thing, which has gotten easier in the States, at least the last maybe 10-15 years, because now we have so many festivals. We didn't have a lot of festivals in the States when I first started touring, and now you kind of see everyone. When you're on the summer festival circuit, you kind of run into all your friends like every other weekend in a weird muddy field in Tennessee or something. And it's important just to like keep that going, you know, and then like, you know, maybe the tour is not selling, it gets canceled. There's all kinds of things, or COVID happens and the world shuts down, all kinds of things. So yeah, challenging, networking, organization, staying ahead of it. But the thrill, the other side of it is it's totally worth it. It's 100% worth it, because like I don't know, because you can go and play a show in New Orleans, and in between sound check and doors, run to Pesh and sit at the bar and have a Sazerac and have like some food at like one of your favorite restaurants, and run back and make doors. And stuff like that makes it worth it, you know, in addition to, you know, the actual gig, which is great too.
No, exactly. So I was talking to 5-1, which is another touring industry, and he says like, yeah, every day we do the same show, but every day is super different. And like what you said about just going out to like a New Orleans restaurant and between shows, honestly, it sounds so cool. And also about like the little festival thing, that sounds like summer camp, just meeting all your friends in a muddy field. But yeah, let's hop over to Alex. So I know you have yeah, just anything you like to add on to that. And
yeah, shout out to the muddy field in Tennessee not happening this year, which actually was a selfish convenience for me, which goes back to this freelance gig. And I'm currently between all three artists of Tyler, the Creator, Olivia Rodrigo, and Baby Keem. And the only reason that I'm able to do all three is because I've been with Tyler for so long that as job offers have been getting pushed out there and interviewing for different opportunities, I had 4 or 5 other tour interviews that I was unable to take because they had conflicting dates with Tyler. And we've mentioned it before, but being true to your word in this networking game is really important. And so there's no way that I could take on another artist if I'm going to not be able to fulfill my role with Tyler. So when I did become tour manager for Baby Keem, it was nice knowing that all of Keem's shows and Keem's tour dates lined up in the middle of Tyler's, and then being asked to do some Olivia Rodrigo shows as well. Luckily, there were no overlaps, but there have definitely been a series of weekends where I've got 3 shows in 3 days with each different artist. And it is kind of a balancing act, but it's something where luckily I've been hired to each of those gigs by people I see as mentors. And so just being able to talk through it with them being honest, and saying, this is what I've got going on. Are you comfortable with this? And knowing where my priorities lie, but also having those real, honest relationships with people. I can also say it's not about chasing gigs. Being a freelancer, there are opportunities where really big, important artists, at least at that moment, come by and you have the opportunity to work with them. But if it's going to burn bridges, if you're going to have to sacrifice your relationships with people, it's either just not worth doing at that moment, or you have to jump in wholly and realize the impact that it's going to have. For me, it's never worth burning a bridge, and I want to really give as much as I can to those who I see as mentors, who are giving me some pretty incredible gigs. And so staying freelance, it's definitely a gnarly balancing act, but being honest with those people that are employing me, and really those people that I see as friends, I've been able to make it work, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Knowing that when I'm home, I'm fully at home. I don't have to be working. I can plan out my vacations. I'm not waiting for somebody to tell me what the next gig is. It's really, as a freelance professional, I get to say what the next gig is. Or the artist that I've been with forever says, hey, we just had a show pop up, and that's what I go do. But at least it's my role to say yes or no. And really, the benefits are definitely being missed from a standard job, but the flexibility of it all, and just really being able to give my everything to an artist year over year. I don't have a vendor telling me, hey, you're with this artist for this tour, and you may or may not see them again. I really get to build relationships with the artists, with the crews, and the freelance lifestyle has worked out well for me. It's what I prefer.
No, I love that insight, totally. And going back to like the importance, well, we never talked about, but the importance of mentors and networking, of course, really goes a long way for sure. So thank you so much for that. And lastly, we'll hop over to Nikki, and yeah, just your experience with your past tour and starting Diani Entertainment.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I was actually thinking the same. Having a mentor is the reason why Diani Entertainment became formulated. Like I said, started out as a trainee under the hub of merchandising in the touring industry, which is actually a multi-billion-dollar industry of tours. So at first, I didn't realize the importance of the merch. Believe it or not, at some point, I was actually doomed to be merch queen. They told me I was the merch queen, which I thought was a funny title. But it's kind of funny. I actually decided that I wear that hat very well. I enjoy being known for merch, and Diani Entertainment, although started out to inspire and in a sense be that of management and mentors to the artist development and the models and the talent, quickly, because of my long-term stint of being in tour for over 20 years, went and kind of just flourished in the merchandising business specifically. With that being said, I did want to touch on, like, it's very true that when you are not on tour and you have we've had several opportunities where tours were overlapping. Very important, like Alex said, that you realize that there are times when you do have to kind of turn down one of the artists that you may even have worked with for many years. We had a tour with Def Leppard, Poison at the exact same time as Beyonce, and those are big names, but it's like, how do you manage being able to cater in the light of what their expectations are for those level of tours? I mean, these are major multi-million-dollar productions. We had a tour with one artist actually that was going to another country at the same time that we were trying to finish out another tour. So, it's important to establish like the groundwork of what you need in the contract with what the artist is and what exactly they're expecting. That way you don't have to worry about feeling like you're burning those bridges. The attitude that you take is that this is what I'm outlining for what I'm going to do for you. This is the expectation that you have for me, and this is exactly what I'm going to deliver. Of course, we all know, and I'm sure all of us, especially everyone on tour knows, we go above and beyond that. We go well above and beyond the call of duty in any aspect when it comes to what needs to be accomplished in honestly just a day, a single day. So from load in to load out, and even before, months before. So I think for me, it's just been a blessing, honestly, to have the longevity that I have with the company that I established. I established in 2010. However, I initiated my tour days in literally the year 2000. 1999 was considered the Backstreet Boys, but NSYNC, they launched in 2000. No strings attached. And from that date up until 2010 and launching the business and then moving forward into where we are now. And I would say one of the biggest things was being able to take what happened in 2020 and be able to evolve and develop into something new. I do a lot of artist meet and greets, and believe it or not, to stand there and to meet the artists and shake their hand and hug them and cry and all of the things that people want to do is another form of making money on the tour. However, when the pandemic hit, we cannot not only tour, but we can't do meet and greets. So I had to change what we're doing to virtual. We did a lot of virtual meet and greets, and at this time, even the live arena is virtual in some respects. So I think being able to evolve and be innovative and make sure that you're staying on top of what it is that you can offer. People love authenticity and transparency. So if you're transparent, it's very important, very, very important in this industry. So I think that's what I can say regarding, the tours that I've been on most recently, as well as my company, and how that has helped me.
No, for sure. Everything about, managing how much you put on your plate. And yeah, that really goes back to like school and like making sure everything is okay for you, that you do your 110% for everything you do. So I love what you said with that there. And also that's a great transition to how you mentioned what happened over quarantine and like the future of things, but we're going to be saving that for our Q&A section coming up. But as of now, we'll be going into a quick little 10-minute break. So go ahead and get a sip of water, snack, use the restroom, whatever you need. And we'll be back around, 8:13. That is math, yes, math. But yeah, if you're interested, don't go too far because we'll be playing a short little clip from our first MIC Digital exclusive interview, long title, from David 51 Norman. We're just going to be playing a bit of it. And yeah, go ahead and have fun on your break. Okay. Yeah, see y'all back in 10 minutes. Let's see. One of the questions I did want to ask after what you said, Nikki, about just everything switching up in the pandemic, and I bet there's going to be a lot of changes in the future. I wanted to ask what everyone thinks the future of touring is. What do y'all think about that? We could start off. Yeah, we'll start off with Nikki and go to Alex and Candace.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I actually thought about this prior to being on this panel, because I thought that that's very important, is to consider where we're going now. And from all I can remember from the age of 8, my very first concert was the Jackson 5. My mom actually taught Michael Jackson, and she wrapped me in her arms and she carried me in. And the only thing I can remember is seeing all of that fire and the water and like them singing, "Can you feel it?" Like, "Can you feel it?" And it made me melt. And I was 8 years old. And I don't think that we're going to steer completely clear away from live and the music going live. I will say that I'm a fan of a lot of different genres of music. I have been most recently a really big fan of For King and Country, and what they did this past winter when they chose to do like almost like a drive-in concert was amazing to me. I was already telling the people that work for a couple companies that tether with mine in the merchandise business as well, we do need to invent like, you know, the different meet and greet options for people to do virtual. We need to think about how we can touch people and still give people that same feeling that I had when I was 8 years old at the Jackson 5 concert, but now from home, but now like still be able to feel that personal touch from home. So I can say that was something that I looked at, and For King and Country did it very well when they decided to do that drive. I literally had my top down in California, literally jumped out the window of the, I jumped out the top of my car and was blasting the music as loud as I can, acting like I was front row at this concert, even though we could just tap in on the stream. It's just something amazing about the power of music. And I really feel like for the future, we are just more or less going to take advantage of all aspects of technology, including streaming is one of them. But I mean, I remember when they first introduced holograms into the live music and things like that, you know, always something that will motivate and inspire for the next level of technology that will be able to bring, you know, different aspects to live. But I really think, I will say at the core, we will be in a live venue, back in touch with one another, back touching and seeing one another. And that will always be the home of music.
Tough to follow that up. I just could not agree more. You nailed it. Technology is going to keep driving it in wild ways that I don't know. I definitely cannot predict. Seeing events going on in games like Fortnite, seeing things happen virtually has been phenomenal. Porter Robinson creating his own world inside of just a website coded where you can actually walk around and have a virtual experience. We're going to see a lot of things like that, but there's no replacement for the house lights going out at a show and 500 to 30,000 people just roaring, waiting for that song to start. So one of the moments that keeps me energized while on tour is just hearing the crowd having one of the best nights of their lives, and really truly feel like we're all in the industry of creating memories. It's definitely about the music, but it's really about that fan experience. And there's just no way to really replicate that live scene. But also looking at the future of our industry, also just want to touch on what that means for the backstage as well. And I think in something that I feel has been proven to be true, especially during this COVID downtime, but our industry and the future of it are so much more inclusive. We're so much more diverse. I am geeking that Candace is here, and just what she has done with her organization, what so many other organizations are really trying to focus on, creating opportunities for people who didn't feel like they had a home in our industry, and all of the people really trying to focus on that human element, making sure that we're happy and healthy on the road. We've definitely found out how to make money while touring, but now it's even more important that we figure out how to take care of the people who are doing that every day. Making sure that we have good moments for the fans, but that we have a happy, healthy career for everyone joining, and that happiness, healthiness is available for anybody who wants a place in it. And so I don't want to take any of Candace's thunder, but there are so many organizations out there doing a great job with mentoring, with training, but also just trying to put qualified individuals into the right positions. And a lot of people just focusing on how to make venues more inclusive. I think that the future of our industry is really looking bright in that way. There's just so much opportunity for us to do better. And I think a lot of people really starting to care about that a lot more than potentially in the past.
Absolutely. I mean, how can I follow anything that Nikki and Alex have shared? Basically, they have shared my sentiments on the future of the live music industry. I think it's great that we've been able to kind of stretch and flex our technology muscle and expand the live music industry. But live is live, right? It only happens once. It happens in the moment. So we can never replace that. But I'm super excited about the direction of us not only being forced to, but us also just being open to the possibilities of what the future could possibly look like as far as technology is concerned, innovation is concerned, digging deeper and finding more ways to add ancillary opportunities to expand in the live space. As Nikki said, virtual meet and greets and many other opportunities, drive-throughs and things that we had not been exploring and capitalizing on prior to the pandemic. So I'm super excited about that. I'm glad that fans and their favorite artists or artists and their fans have a way to reach each other globally on a level that they had not been considering prior to the pandemic. So all of those things are super important and amazing as far as monetizing the business. But as far as everything that Alex touched on, that is where my heart and my passion is making sure that this industry is an exclusive and inclusive industry, one that is representative of its fan base, which is very diverse, and one that is representative, even though the talent that's on stage, which is very diverse. There are hundreds of people behind the scenes propping up one artist. And I would love for those people to be of diverse background. I would love to see more women in those spaces, getting just the visibility that they deserve. It's a very male-dominated industry. Most industries are. It's not a unique thing for the live music industry to be very male-dominated, but there are some badass women that are behind the scenes that are really killing it and leading the way. And I would love for them to create the next wave of more badass women of diverse background within this industry. So I think that we are on our way, especially when we're being intentional about taking care of each other in the mental health capacity, by building community in a way that we had not in the past. So many incredible things have come out of the pandemic for our industry, especially since we were on pause. We were the first to close and the last to open. We're still struggling with the opening pieces. And so that has given us a lot of time to reevaluate the landscape and the community and to build it much stronger than it had been prior to the pandemic. So I'm excited about the future of the live music industry overall.
Yeah, everything that everyone said in my head, I was like, yes. Especially what you said with like more women in the industry. So I know Alex, Olivia just had like iHeart, and you said something about how a lot of her band, a lot of her team is all women, and it's super cool seeing all the different changes. So yeah, and also so many hot topics like mental health, sustainability, major topics in the music industry and the touring industry that we hope to see happen. Getting some questions from the chat, really exciting. Thank you, everyone. I'm gonna combine Amy and Brooklyn. So Amy asked, a question for Alex, what's the most difficult challenge you've encountered as a tour manager? And for everyone else, what is just the greatest challenges on the road, and whether that's merching, whether that's being the CEO of a company, all of that. So we'll start with Alex, go to Candace and Nikki.
Hardest thing about being a tour manager is that I hate saying no to people, especially the artist, but also my crew. I find a lot of pride in taking care of our crew members. And so if there's ever something that I can do to make someone's life more easy, I really want to do that. Taking care of people who are away from their families, away from their loved ones. We miss a lot of birthdays, holidays, other special life events. So if I'm ever unable to do that, or just saying no to somebody, I take it personally while I'm on the road, because I like to feel like it's in my control to make everyone happy and healthy. Lucky for me, the show always goes on, or at least almost always. There's going to be a number of different obstacles. It's different every single day. But I don't know if there's one moment that's specifically hard, other than the small moments in between talking to family, and just making sure that people feel taken care of. We're out on the road for months at a time. If anybody is having issues together, it's really important for me to knock those away as immediately as possible and really make sure that everyone is on good, happy terms. But I've also been in the lucky position, most of my tours end and people are sad to be leaving each other, just because we are able to build that real family vibe on tour. So yeah, saying no to people and not being able to take care of them if I do want to would definitely be the harder part than having to readjust flights or buy extra hotel rooms. That's the easy part. It's the personal stuff that can be more difficult than others.
For me, I've never personally been out on the road, but I've worked with a ton of tour managers and I've experienced some road life, just kind of stopped some periodic stops in some of the shows and the tours that I've worked on personally. But one of the things that I would say is a super key thing to do or be is someone who is flexible and who's willing to kind of fill any role and do any job. You know, we have a ton of skills and background in our backgrounds. And so just because we have a specific job title does not mean that we can't be flexible and extend beyond just those roles within that job title. And that's what it's almost called for within this industry. It's for you to kind of step up and do whatever you feel is needed in order to get something done, get the job done, take a load off of someone else who has a ton of other responsibilities that they're doing. Being willing to say, hey, I'll do it, and I'm willing to give a go at it, because that's going to also show people your overall abilities and your willingness to step up and help out wherever it's necessary. And this is definitely the type of community and job and career that it takes a lot of tenacity and hard work, and just being a person that of flexibility, because there's always something that is needed of someone. But if you're willing to do it, then you're setting yourself above the rest. My job, and then I'm willing to do other jobs. But make sure you're doing your job at a really excellent rate before you extend yourself to do other roles. But I would say just being flexible and being willing to do more than what's called for you to do is really going to help you stand out when you're out on the road, and making people's life easier, like Alex mentioned. Goes a long way. People remember you just for being that good person. Remember, I mentioned earlier, being a good person really will take you a long way in this industry. So the things that you lack in skill, you make up in character and being a personable person, and that's going to take you even further.
If I can just cut in, sorry for breaking the rules here. I've definitely seen a lot more people keep their jobs who maybe aren't phenomenal at their gig, but are willing to learn and have a great personality. And then I know a lot of people who might be phenomenal at their jobs have done it for X many years, but if they're just miserable to be around in a prick, they won't survive very long for that tour. So the personality, we've all mentioned it many times, but just wanted to emphasize how real it is. You can keep your job a lot longer if you're just nice.
Yeah. Actually, that Alex piggybacks right on what I was going to say. Most importantly, the most difficult part of being on a tour for me has been the staffing. I'm a tour boss and I manage the affairs of the front of house as well as back of house. It could be the artist affairs directly with the show settlement, and then I'm also dealing with the people that are at the venue. So to juggle the venue and what exactly the venue needs and their requirements, it could be completely different from what the tour production calls for, what's in the writers for the artist. So how does that relate to staffing? Well, like Alex said, there's been several times where we've sat on our tour, a 3-month tour, and we have someone that just really doesn't mesh well with the other talent or with the other people that are working at the venues based on attitude or personality, and we are forced to make hard decisions. So I think everyone expects for touring and for when you're on the road, that it will be every single day something new. Every single day there's always something that will come out of the woodwork that you're not ready for, or you plan to not plan. You pretty much plan ahead to not know the plan. But we all get through it, and that's what our specialty is. That's what we master in. So I think one of the biggest parts of, you know, what Alex was saying, as well as I can piggyback on that and say, is that if you have the positive attitude, that is what's going to take you far. That is what's going to, you know, keep things in line for you. That only builds the networking, but it also makes you memorable. It makes it important to remember. So for me, the most difficult part of a tour has been staffing. Literally having to terminate or, you know, hiring new mid-tour based on different personalities or artist requests, per personality, per work ethic. Very important. If you're on tour, we work long hours. Some of our days start at 8 or 9 a.m. We might stop at 5 a.m. the next day and get some rest if we can. Some people can't sleep on a moving bus, some people can. And then we do it all over again for months at a time. So it's very important that if you don't have the work ethic and you're coming in sleepy and you're acting tired or your attitude isn't right, and you have to come in fresh every single day with the same attitude and even better. And knowing that, like he said, making those relationships and building person to person relationships, true, you know, genuine transparency in dealing with people.
Definitely important things to consider. Just to be nice, respect people, and just sometimes, like, and at least for me, and what that I notice, that there's so many things happening, you could forget that that person has feelings too, and definitely consider that. So thank you for that. And that absolutely brings us into a great transition to the next question. And looking at the time, we do have we're gonna try to get through as much questions as we can. But a question from Alexis. I know you guys mentioned how toxic and tedious the music industry can be at times. In what ways do you guys try to navigate away from that kind of toxic environment? And also tying up with her follow-up question about just being a woman in the industry, and also just, you know, toxic environment overall. We'll hop to Candace, and we'll do Alex and Nikki.
For me, I mean, the music industry has a reputation of being toxic. I think that depending on the industry that you're in, you may even see that as being a toxic industry because it's the one that you are navigating and growing in. But specific to the music industry and the live music industry, I think that some of the toxic perspectives come from it being male dominated. Lots of men been out on the road, very few women been out on the road. Behaviors by people who aren't as respectful, people who are part of a boys club, and so they get there are certain behaviors and actions that are able to pass. The way that I navigate these things and disarm these things, because I care about my career, I care about the work that I'm doing, and I love the work that I'm doing, I'm passionate about it, is that I try to approach every situation by disarming people and disarming, you know, I try to disarm them with humor, with a good personality and a good attitude. And some people you can't disarm, and you just know that those aren't your people. Those aren't the people that you're able to get through to. So you just get the job done and appease it that way. But for me, I like to make sure that I'm connecting with people on a personal, genuine level, that I'm asking about the things that matter to them and that resonates with them. That's the way that I disarm them, by having a close connection with them. And to some capacity, you know, we're here to work primarily, but again, this industry is very community based and connectivity based. So making the right connections with people disarms them and allows them to want to work closer with you, because we are almost forced to work in close proximity with each other anyway. So again, I just really like, my tactic is just to approach people with a good attitude, good personality, humor, having an opportunity to disarm them, to navigate around any frustrations and any fires that have to be put out by offering my skill sets and how I can make things easier for people. So the disarming factor is what works for me, you know, just really approaching people and trying to lighten the load a little bit so that we can all get the job done, because the end result is really the key there for us.
I spoke on one of those moments that I love every night of the house lights going off and the crowd erupting. I've really found that everyone on tour has at least one moment a day that they just really look forward to. Even though our days look different every day, there's that one spark of happiness. And I think getting rid of the toxic culture is really finding out what that is for everyone, that one meaningful moment, and just helping allow that to happen. I had one lighting person who just absolutely loved reading their book while the show went on. And so just making sure that this gentleman had a light backstage so that he could sit down, try to get him a nice comfy chair every show, and just making sure that he had that one moment so that even if the loadout is tough, no matter how raw the next day is, he feels taken care of. And I really try to do that with all of my crew members. And that only addresses a little bit of the toxicity. We're away from home, we're away from loved ones. Every little issue can just get exacerbated. And one small issue you have with someone, you don't get to walk away from them. You are with them for the next X many months. There's no escape. And so I just think finding that personal happiness and trying to make sure that we each take care of each other and that we each try to do our own thing and find what that is that makes us happy, and taking time out of our day to allow ourselves to enjoy that moment is extremely important. And I definitely can't speak on behalf of being a female on the road. But I do know that people, not to toot my own horn, people like myself and so many others out there are opening their eyes and just trying to care more. I've definitely fired individuals from different tours for making inappropriate gestures, inappropriate comments. There's a hard line of what is acceptable, what is not. And to make this industry more inclusive, we need to support our female, non-binary, trans colleagues. And for myself, I will never know what it's like to be in their shoes, but just trying to do everything I can so that they don't have to deal with any of these issues anymore. And when they do, that they know that there are punishments. Whoever is going to cross those lines should not be in our industry anymore. And with them still around, I don't know. It can't be easy, but I do want to emphasize that I feel like more and more there are people taking a hard stance and not allowing it. Our industry has definitely been phrased as the wild, wild west by a lot of those older white gentlemen who really had to trailblaze the industry on their own, but it was not one that was trailblazed in an inclusive fashion. And so we need to do better. We can do better. And I hope that all the females, trans, non-binary individuals on this call do feel hopeful that there is space in this industry for them if they want.
Awesome, Alex. You could not have said that best. I agree completely. I've actually been in the music industry for over 20 years in touring specifically. And in the very beginning, it was extremely difficult. I come from a background I mentioned very briefly earlier, mechanical engineering, and being an African-American female engineer is completely also an industry where we are underrepresented. And in the touring industry, being a female and being an African-American female, I can say that that's equal. The thing that I like about what Alex mentioned is that this is a normal occurrence to many on tour. It goes without being said that people think it's okay to make comments or derogatory, things that they do towards women, or they automatically assume that we can't lift or we can't do the work that a man can do. I had a long stint with a company that was in merchandising, entertainment marketing group, and the owner of that company, a male, African-American male, made his name in the industry, niche merchandising market, being African-American male in the industry. One thing he told me was he trailblazed his way through many years, over 30 years in touring, solely based on the expectation of what people have for you. You have to do that, but you have to understand that because of their, not because of yours, but because of their oversight of who you are, you can do more. And you can take that to the next level by actually being opposite of their expectation. So as a woman in the touring industry, from the very beginning, it's funny, I even said from day one at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, on that campus, when I first came to the Backstreet Boys show, they didn't look at me as someone that could work. They literally saw the heels, they saw the face, they said, I don't know. And I proved them wrong. I worked the hardest. I actually sold the most. I was top sales my first tour. And it gave me a powerful position and a voice when I was hired for my next tour. And so I have had experiences on many tours where I've been the butt of communication or inappropriate things that would happen. And I will say there have been some really, really great people that have terminated those people or have, given them consequences for what they've done. And as a woman in this industry, I would say the most important part is to uphold a reputation, uphold a solid reputation that you build for yourself, knowing that everything that you do and say precedes you. You can do anything, no matter who you are, no matter what background or ethnic, background you have. But it's important to remember that the most important part is to be someone that they want to work with, be someone that we're willing to be around for days on end, and just uphold your standards, your moral standards, and work really, really hard. As far as for like the hardest part of the day for me, it's actually, believe it or not, it's actually sound check. But in the hours before, I hate to say it, but that's my nap. I'll never forget being on a Def Leppard Poison tour, and people were like, how can she sleep? And I was literally in the middle of stadium tours, laid out on the benches, just completely sound asleep. But it was hard to take a nap during sound check, but that was my nap time.
I love that story. Thank you. And yeah, thank you everyone for your wonderful insight. Another question we have from Alexis Vergara. Question for everyone: as new college graduates with no real experience in the industry, how can we best find ourselves in position where we can find a job that works for us as well as a livable wage? Sorry. Okay, we will start off. Yeah, start with Candace.
Yeah, I would say be willing to offer your skills for free, volunteering your time, doing internships. They will take you very far. I started out in working in an internship, and some of those skills that I learned is what led me to other opportunities in growth in business acumen. But I think that being willing to offer your time and your skill sets will definitely help develop you as well as develop your relationships and your business acumen. As a matter of fact, there's an intern here on the call that was a Live Out Live intern, Michelle Garcia. I want to shout her out, Cal State Fullerton student as well. So yeah, but Michelle and I've had a great group of interns, and they've really contributed to my platform, and they've learned a lot as well. And those relationships lead to bigger opportunities for you as long as you are willing to extend yourself and put yourself out there. Yeah, that's definitely one way to get into the industry is by volunteering your time and your skill set for free. And it will lead to not only sweat equity, but eventually real resources and opportunities for you to have income and to grow and expand within the live music industry.
Cool, thank you. We'll hop over to Nikki.
Okay, internships are great as well. I agree with Candace. I do also think that as far as how to break into this touring industry when you don't have experience, I would say that you can partner with different touring companies. I just thought of this, the local venue. Believe it or not, almost all local venues that are, it could be like a House of Blues size or even an arena. But if you're connected with, like I know in Los Angeles, at some point there's like a local venue and like the Tabernacle and just Fox Theater in Atlanta. There's different venues that will actually give you an opportunity to work a show for that specific local venue in your city. Because I know that there's people who aren't in Los Angeles or might not be in a major city. And so I don't know if I speak for a lot of us from small towns. I'm from a very small town. You have to find the avenue within that small town. And when the music comes to you and the artist is coming to that local venue, then you go to the venue and talk to the people at the venue to be able to figure out what you may be able to do at the venue to fit in merchandise, sound, production, assisting, volunteering. And then what that does is it creates an opportunity for you to be able to lead yourself into meeting the different touring artists that are coming around and coming through, and to be able to talk to their managers, their tour personnel. I've actually hired a couple of people locally for different tour spot dates that we were doing based off of recommendations from the venue. So yeah, I think that would be another avenue for being able to move into that arena for music.
I think it's a interesting line between unpaid work and then the internships. But ultimately, I think that there is no bad experience out there. If you're able to take an internship that is unpaid and you're able to supplement it with work between it, every experience is a great one. Even finding out gigs that you don't want to do is so valuable, because then you don't need to worry about switching career paths later on. And it'll really emphasize what you do want to be doing and just solidify all of the time, all of the effort, and all of the gigs that might be underpaid. You know that it's building that experience and taking networks away, taking education away from different events. It can be just as valuable as the money coming in. My first couple of tours, actually, I did 6 tours where I was getting paid $500 a week, and we were getting paid, we were doing 6 shows a week, about 18 hours a day. If you do the math, it is pretty abysmal. But in order, after doing those 6 different tours, I was able to talk with other folks and say that I've done it. I'd been to 20 different countries in Europe at that point. I'd worked many shows in many different settings. I was able to pay rent, but that was really a stepping stone, and it's given me an incredible foundation to continue my career on. And if I was worried more about the money and said no to those gigs because it was less than I would have liked, I likely would not be where I am right now. So again, just being awkward. I'm always awkward about money. If you're able to support yourself, go ahead and take an unpaid gig as well. Fill in wherever you can. That knowledge, that experience, that networking, it's always going to be worth it. And when I was in college, I was reaching out to everybody I could. And I had mentioned it earlier, but I was reaching out to venues as well, seeing if they needed a production runner or production assistant. And if not, would I be able to just come shadow for one of the shows coming up? It didn't matter what the role was, stuffing VIP bags, driving around, only doing food orders, or even just asking to bring the general manager or the production assistant, production manager, if I could just bring them a coffee at lunchtime. I was going to do whatever it took to get in there. I have producer credit on random music videos that came from me reaching out to artists who said, we can't do a show, but we actually would love your help with the music video. And while that wasn't exactly what I wanted to be doing as tour manager, now when I'm working with artists who are looking at doing music videos, I have that background. I know where to save money. I know when different production companies are just trying to add on crazy costs. There really is no bad experience. And coming out of college, it's definitely a scary time, especially post-COVID, when the last year is scarier than usual. But just coming out of it, do whatever you can, and fingers crossed everyone's able to pay their rent, pay their bills, but do everything. Even if it doesn't line up exactly with what you think your career should be, take the gig anyway. Go ahead and learn, work with those new different people, and it's going to work out in the long run.
Love everything you guys said. Thank you. That experience is super important. Internships are a wonderful way to learn, and just saying yes. So yeah, little notes from everyone. Thank you. This is actually a great transition to the next question, and this might be our last question. Hopefully you could squeeze one in or not. But combining David and Victoria's question, so David asks, would a strong musical background help someone get into positions like yours? And Victoria asks, is there anything you need to learn during your education in college that you still utilize every day or very often within your careers? So yeah, all like background stuff. Experience is great, but stay in school, yes. I guess we could start with Alex, since you mentioned how your university had a music industry program, and how did that help you? And yeah, and then we'll go to Candace and Nikki.
I guess I'll just start off with saying there are so many jobs that it takes to support this artist, and it has been mentioned earlier tonight as well, but there are so many roles out there, and my path getting to tour manager is not even close to being the same as everybody else who has the tour manager title. So for me, it wasn't necessary. I was able to lean on production assistant work, even merchandise selling to get to where I wanted. But having that music background just opens up a few different avenues where you can also sell merchandise going into it if that's something you're passionate and are willing to commit to, or you can start learning how to tech different gear. We definitely have a lot of people in our industry who are playback engineers or the audio engineers, or even the guitar techs, the drum techs, those folks who got into it because that's where their passion was. And so doing those different things, also kind of going back to my last point of just getting every experience possible. There's so many ways to hop into the industry. And once you're in the touring world, and even just the music industry at large, it's pretty easy to hop from one sector to the next, one job title to the next. Just getting in really is the hardest part. And so having music as a background, having lighting, programming as a background, or even a creative element, or being interested in catering. I know that had come up from our team. It opens up different doors that somebody like myself might not have because I don't have that background. So being able to play an instrument doesn't guarantee you anything more than anyone else, but just really gives you more avenues to get to your end goal.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I am a strong believer that skills are transferable. So just like everyone else have a journey and a story on how they got into the touring industry, there is no direct path. When I say skills are transferable, you really can work in any industry and transfer your skills into the live music industry. If you are an accountant and you love numbers and you want to go out and settle your favorite artist show night after night, you can go out on the road and work as a tour accountant. All roles are necessary in the live music space. That's why it's important that students are exposed to the different avenues and areas within the live music industry so that they can explore many different areas based on their interests and their passions. And so like I said, I'm a strong believer that skills are transferable. So if you have a music playing background, as Alex mentioned, maybe that will be your pipeline into the industry. But again, it takes that passion and that drive and that motivation to want to work in live music, despite having a music industry background or not. But yeah, it definitely can help. It can't hurt, but again, I can't stress it enough. Skills are transferable. Any skills that you have, any industry that you're currently in, and you want to, like I believe that Nikki mentioned, being an engineer, and now she's in live music. So we all have our own pipelines and journeys into this industry, and it's just not one direct path. So I definitely encourage anyone who wants to be in the live music industry to explore their own individual path.
Undoubtedly, when you're in the live touring industry and you have any background in music, or you have you are a musician, I think that actually does play a role and is an asset. I think it's important to remember that in the touring industry, on the management side, on most of the positions in tour, they're actually stemming from a place of being knowledgeable of some form of music. However, you have to remember that it's not a glamorous. Touring is not glamorous. I think a lot of a lot of people that I know, and I'm actually speaking of the stylists and the hairdressers, and it's funny, I actually I have a really good friend, amazing hairdresser and stylist, that went out with Janet Jackson, and I think she's so gorgeous and beautiful, by the way. But I've been told all my life I look like Janet Jackson. I was able to meet her on tour with NSYNC, and it was amazing. But I will say this: the one thing that he called me, he said, you know, what do you think? I got an opportunity to tour with Janet Jackson. This is amazing. You know, I love doing what I do, but can I translate that into tour? I gave one really big, awesome word of advice. We will only find out when you get there, because I don't think that it's really something that you can say before you've actually had the experience. Touring is like no other. It's a beast in its own, and it's something that it's hard to put into words, you know, what the experience of being literally, your life is the road. You are on the road 24/7. I think Alex touched on it a lot. Our families are having events. We have holidays. We have things that are happening. And we just really honestly are still at work. We're still working constantly. So I think if you have a music background, that's amazing. I actually, myself, you know, I learned to play the violin first, and went on to viola and flute and keyboard. And these are my early days of songwriting. But when I got to tour, honestly, I will say it was completely different. I used, much like Candace said, I used a lot of the skills that I had in almost every aspect of what I was doing, like accounting. I combined the music industry knowledge of being a musician with being an accountant, having an engineering background, having the professionalism, executive, you know, mindset and things like that. So it's a combination, I will say. Yeah.
And sorry, I think part of the question as well that most of us have also touched on was about how college helps prepare to get to these gigs. And we've all talked about the many different facets. Stealing from Candace, the skills are transferable. College, this music industry club that y'all are part of, just being able to learn about these different industries, these different positions, is a skill of its own. So many people just see the music industry as this one big blob, but finding out who the humans are in it is remarkable, and figuring out what different jobs there are. And I think that that's something that college also does with different classes, that you can figure out if you're interested in something. If you're not, you have the time to take it in a class, and you don't have to live out a job for a year or two and either love it or hate it. You kind of get to figure that out while you're in class. And I think that that's something that's really unique about the position that students are in right now. And then just learning from peers. I still find issues right now trying to figure out how to push other people in. When I find out about job positions, I was always intimidated by my peers at USC. I was a music industry minor. I didn't really allow myself to network with my own peer group. And I think that being in this club itself is just remarkable. Being able to figure out who you're going to grow into the industry with is something that universities allow.
And one more thing I want to add also is that students now have access to something that I didn't even have when I was joining the industry, and that is social media. We have platforms like LinkedIn where you can go and research tour executives, which, you know, a lot of people reach out to me directly via LinkedIn and invite me to be a part of these platforms. But having the opportunity to connect with people who are within this industry directly, people are open to mentoring and giving direction and guidance and helping prepare the next generation for this industry. So utilizing the social platforms and that access that you guys have is immeasurable. Now that's something that we didn't have, and that definitely extends your opportunity to network beyond just us interacting with each other physically.
Love that. Thank you so much. And yeah, social media at our fingertips, LinkedIn at our fingertips. We'd love to shout out Live Out Live, because I know Instagram, y'all post so many informational graphics and things of that. So if you want to learn more, definitely check out Instagram accounts like Live Out Live, and also like I know Coda Collective does a really good job as well, and mentorship programs as well. I know Well Done is one, 1520 Vision is one. So many cool organizations for everyone to check out, and this club being one. And yeah, just want to thank everyone for your awesome insight. Before we go though, want to do a quick question to everyone. What is the best way for students to reach out to you guys if they have any questions? Yeah, we'll start with Nikki, Alex, and Kenneth.
Yes, anyone that has any questions regarding Deani Entertainment, the tour industry, anything that you can think of, my doors are always 100% open. It's deanientertainment@gmail.com. It's my email. So it's DYANI entertainment@gmail.com.
Awesome. And once again, you can definitely find Live Out Live at liveoutlive.com. We have a website where you can go and you can find all of our social platforms there, but we are on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Live Out Live. So feel free to join our community, follow us. As Mingyu said, we post social content surrounding the live music industry, touring, lots of learning resources, lots of job opportunities, and just terminology and learning about the ecosystem of the live music industry and the structure of it. Just so many great resources that I am so proud to share with you guys. So please join our community, join our social platforms, and reach out to us. You can reach us at info@liveoutlive.com.
I threw my link tree into the chat. Whatever way you're most comfortable connecting, I'm happy to chat. If you're going to do it via social media, for myself and for anybody else in the industry that you're trying to connect with, always send a message. Let me know where you might have seen me, heard me. There are too many stranger dangers out there. You need to get that message. And I promise that you will connect with many other folks if you just leave that message. Doesn't even have to be crazy, just saying, heard you from the music industry club, would love to stay connected. Don't really need anything more than that, but it separates you from the random requests that are out there. But yeah, thanks so much for having me.
No, thank you guys for being here. I loved every second of it. And everything you guys said. Make sure to mention where you see them from, or even like cold reaching out, cold networking, I think it was called. Yeah, tell them how amazing they are and do your research. Trisha, our vice president, dropped a resources Excel sheet that David 51 shared with us. Wonderful way for you to learn everything in that. And yeah, Again, thank you guys so much for coming to our first panel of the year. I appreciate you guys. We all appreciate you guys. And yeah. So panelists, you guys are welcome to leave. I know it's super late and oh God, Minnesota. I'm sorry to not even consider that. Oh my God.
Thank you.
Just
Thank
quit.
you so much for having us. This has been really fun. Thank you so much for allowing us to share our background and our skills. This is cool. Appreciate it.
I really appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Candace and Nikki, I'll be reaching out to both of you. It was a pleasure being on the
Look forward to it. Same
Awesome.
thing, Alex.
Thank you so much.
Networking. Okay. Thank you guys so much.
Okay.
For club members, stay
Bye.
back. Panelists, you're welcome to go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.